Welcome back to Violent Money TV. Today, I am joined by one of the top fighters out of Ireland today, Darragh Kelly, who is back in action at Bellator London on September 14th. We'll get into that in just a minute. But for me, the last performance that you had in the under the Bellator banner, I mean, we've seen it happen in Bellator for years now, where it feels like nearly every one of the shows they put on in Ireland, you get a new fighter really kind of lay down the marker as like, I'm the new guy that everyone needs to be watching in Irish MMA. And whilst, people have had their eye on your career for quite some time, that step up in
Mhm.
competition and the performance that came with it, I feel like was that moment where it was like, whoa, this just reached another level. Was that how it was for you, or has it been a steady build the whole way?
No, that's how it felt for me as well. I feel like I did need the step up in competition. Although it's good to get the fights that build you as well, but I thought it was the right time to get the step up in competition. The fights against the lower level guys, they weren't really, it wasn't really adding much to my name or my career. So it was good to get that step up and show that I'm able to beat these guys and, in good fashion.
Yeah, it must be a very good vote of confidence from Bellator because they know they've been going to Ireland for so long that they know that realistically they could just announce all the Irish fighters that are going to be on the card and not even opponents, and they're probably going to sell the tickets that way alone. So they don't necessarily need to be giving you these next steps, these big jumps, like you said, but to get that kind of opponent and then obviously to be able to deliver on it as well to show them that you're ready for it because it's all well and good to say it, but then to go and do it in the way that you did, was it like 90 seconds the fight lasted? Like
Mhm.
you literally
Yeah.
couldn't ask for a better like vote of confidence from Bellator, but then also you giving that back to them to say I'm ready for this, so keep it coming, which is what they've done next time out as well.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly what I asked for. Like another, this is a big step up in competition again, but like I feel like that's where I perform best. When my back's against the wall and I've got a tough fight ahead of me. That's every time I've had the best performances in my career is when I'm up against a guy who's a big step up and a challenge. So I feel like I perform in the big moments, and this will be no different. Hopefully.
Yeah, like I know that obviously Bellator is a top promotion, but you don't tend to see guys like yourself and Dmytrii Hrytsenko, who you're fighting on September 14th. You don't tend to get
Mhm.
guys like yourself and him matched up at this level of your careers. And I would have said the same for your last fight as well, which again I think
Mhm.
is super admirable that they are doing that. But there's probably guys that would shy away from that. When you mentioned earlier about how you kind of felt like fighting some fighters that maybe they weren't doing anything for your profile, and also
Mhm.
your skill level to some degree because you can't prove that you can compete at that level yet. Like that mentality to go, no, give me the toughest guy that's out there, and to get fights like this, which at the end of the day is what we all want to see because we'd much
Yeah.
rather watch competitive fights anyway. But like I said originally, Bellator, didn't have to put this fight together with two guys, yourself
Mhm.
and Hiratsenko, who clearly have got a lot of potential and have got a long way to go in this sport. So that must again make you very happy that they're willing to do that for another guy that clearly has a lot of promise.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to take from this fight. Like, a win's gonna be a big for both of us if either of us get it. It gives you a big boost forward in your career, especially at this stage of it. As you said, it's high risk, high reward. Um, like I was offered a few names and might be stupid, but I thought he was the toughest fight,
Hmm.
and I thought he would do the most for my career going forward. So like, I'm a gambling man. I thought, fuck it, let's go for it, roll the dice, and see who comes out on top.
Were they all kind of like? I mean, obviously, you said this one was the toughest. Were they the other fights you offered? Were they in and around this level anyway because of how good the performance was last time out, or was this a considerable decision from you to go? I don't want to fight a guy that was the same level as the last guy. Take me up another step.
From I watched them now, and I could clearly see that he was the cleanest of them. Um, he's technically the best of them, and what swayed me was he's 9-0, and
Hmm.
that really got me excited, and that did pull me away from maybe making a smart decision. But as I said, I'm a gambler man. I seen 9-0, and that really excites me. Like to take someone's to be his first loss. Like
Yeah.
that's what was the deciding factor for me. It's a big statement if I can go in there and beat him. The other fighters they were solid too. Like they were solid, but he was the best one.
The submission game was obviously on show last time out. Like, where does this? Have you always had just a really good instinct for finishing submissions? Like, is it something that's developed over time, or was it something that you were just able to pick up on early on in your MMA career?
Well, I started in jiu-jitsu, like, before I got into MMA. I started jiu-jitsu with the plan that I was to go into MMA fairly soon afterward, but that was my base. And I always had a good instinct for finishes early on. Like it's probably as soon as I started, I have a good finishing instinct.
Obviously, we didn't get to see too much of it last time out, but was that the first fight of you moving up to lightweight? I know it was around that fight.
Yeah, that was my first one back up. That was my first fight back up. And do you know when you're down at featherweight for a while, you kind of forget how you feel at lightweight. So I couldn't really judge if I didn't know which. But when I moved back up, it was clear to me that even in my training, I just feel so much better. Like I'm stronger, more durable, more explosive, and fucking happier that I can eat through camp as well. So I'm going to stay at lightweight. The featherweight cut was just too much, bit too miserable. So I'm going to stay up at 70.
Yeah, I think that this is something that like a lot of people maybe don't take into account. But whenever you speak to anyone who has gone up a weight class, they'll always talk about the benefits of this in the fact that whilst you're doing it, you're basically doing two training camps at the same time, one to prepare for a fight and one to make weight when you're cutting that much weight. Like I can't imagine how much just of your attention has to go towards the weight cut when you're fighting at that weight. Like I imagine you have a lot more time and energy to dedicate to the training now than when you were trying to make featherweight.
I kind of had the attitude, like for some reason I enjoy it, but I'm misery. If your camp's not hard, my thoughts on it was you weren't doing it right. Like, so I kind of enjoyed the suffering, but I think there's only so many times you can put yourself through it. Like, counting calories from fucking 12 weeks out, it's coming down from like 87 kilo down to 65.8. Like, it's just fucking nuts, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed just through the last few fights that you've had, and I think this goes for everyone across the board, but the Irish MMA scene, I think maybe unlike anywhere else in the world, really rally around the whole community. Like to get
Mm-hmm.
support from all the leading figures in Irish MMA, I'm sure that's super helpful. I mean, obviously, there's a ton of Irish MMA presence on the Bellator roster anyway. So it's almost like you've got a little community there. But even outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm sure that's super, not only confidence boosting, but kind of like affirmation that you're doing the right thing because some of these people have either been there and done it or they're doing it right now themselves. So to have those people around you that have, learnt these lessons already, or like I said, learning them at the same time as you, that must really help to have this kind of foundation of fighters, coaches, everything that, like I said, are doing it at the top level right now.
I like theirs are making me small. Like we've a lot of big prospects coming up. Like even through the amateur scene, and SBG is probably the main gym in Ireland. It still is. We've got a lot coming through. The fighters who've been there and done it are still in the gym, or we have links to them. It's just small community. Everyone's going to back each other, and for a small island, small population, we're producing a lot of good fighters. So doing
Yeah,
something right.
it's pretty crazy. Like I still see the constant, even like not only the Irish fighters, which is remarkable, like you said, for such a small community, how many top talents that scene produces, but also people coming over to train at SBG must be massively beneficial. The fact that you're able to get all these different looks, despite
Mm.
relatively speaking, being such a small, just like landmass compared to the rest of the MMA world, but
Mm-hmm.
so many different people from different walks of life gravitate to that one area because obviously the proven success that it's had.
100%. You can get there's people coming in every week,
Yeah,
and you get all sorts of different styles, people from different countries. You get all sorts of looks, and even in the gym, our own team, We've got people from all over Europe, all over the world. Like, I think there's like 20 some people living in the dorms from around the world. If you're preparing for a certain opponent, we more than likely have someone similar in the gym. So that's a big benefit of coming from a big gym like that. You're constantly getting different styles, different people, different body shapes. You know, you've seen it once before, it'll help you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm sure anyone that saw that last fight that you had will know that this one on September 14th is a must watch. But I think, as you said right at the start, the way that you were able to step up in competition last time out, and this one's another step up. But considering how well you did that last step, I think this is one of the best matched fights on this card. One of the best match
Mhm.
fights I think the Bellator have put together since doing this whole champion series. In fact, like this fight is so fantastic. So I look forward to it, mate, and thank you for your time. And I'm sure we'll catch
Yeah.
up with you sometime after.
Yeah, perfect. Nice one. Thanks for
All right,
chatting with
mate.
me.
Thank you.